How's it going, guys? We are back for another Sunday live stream. I hope everybody is doing well wherever and whenever you are watching this. Today's live stream, we're going to be discussing ski season work, and we're just going to be discussing the importance around securing your job if you're thinking of doing a ski season. If this is your first time to the channel, just a little bit of a story quickly about me. I have been working ski seasons, working in the mountains now for over 5 years. I've done 5 winters so far. My journey started off when I decided about a year after university. I was in a job there, and I wasn't really seeing where my career was actually going at that point. Also, things were kind of you know where I was at the moment. I knew I wanted something different, and I had always dreamt as a young kid of working and living in the mountains. Would love to be able to ski sort of week in, week out, if possible. And so I basically decided straight out of university, okay, I'm going to do a ski season. And that was 5 years ago. As anybody who's told you once they've done one, is that you kind of get gripped by it and you find yourself doing more and more and more. And so I spent 2 years as a holiday rep for Crystal. And I was a rep, first of all, in France, in the Three Valleys, I think the largest ski area in all of Europe. Next year, I went to Austria, in the resort of Sol, which was part of the ski Val, another big area with a great ski experience there. Spending a bit of summer work with them as well, before then moving to work as a concierge in a property management company in Niseko, in Japan, which is one of the powder meccas in the world. And then COVID hit. So COVID hit after 3 winters, and there was a time there where I actually wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get back. As a Brit, from the UK, it's now quite hard to go and work in Europe because we left the European Union. And I didn't really know of any opportunities. There was a part of me for a while there that thought about, giving up on my dream for that until I learned about Canada and the work holiday visa. And fast forward to now, I've now spent 2 winters here in Revelstoke in British Columbia. The first time I was a sort of a private lodge worker there, and now I work as a supervisor for the resort. So that's a little bit of an overview of my journey so far. And you might be thinking, okay, so why August? Why are we discussing ski season jobs now? You might be thinking winter is ages away. It's actually not. I calculated it's about 100 days away before next winter season technically starts, if we're thinking sort of early December. I can see we've got a couple of people who have joined already, so thanks very much, guys. I'm going to get to your questions a little bit later on. Joe, I can see you as active as ever in there, mate. So welcome and cheers for joining. Question and answers we'll get to and have a bit of a chat once I've got through the topic. So there's a few things I want to talk about in terms of why applying for ski season jobs now in August is the thing to do. It is really important, and so it's going to help you secure the best positions and the best experience to be on the slope. So let's dive in. The reason why you want to be applying now, first of all, is because there is quite a high demand for ski season jobs. So as the ski season approaches, more and more people are going to be looking for those jobs at ski resorts. But anyone will tell you that the later you leave it, the less choice, the less positions you're going to find available. So by applying in August, you're giving yourself a bit of a head start on the competition and increasing your chances of landing that dream job, whatever that is. So definitely don't wait to the last minute. I do know that for a lot of people, it's quite hard to decide what type of work you want, and there is a lot of choice. So if you're unsure about anything that you want, what the type of work you should be looking for, feel free to put some questions in the comments, and I'll happily answer anyone who has anything on that. And yeah, just to sort of highlight it, Joe, for example, here his dream is to live into the Alps, and anyone will tell you the only way you're going to be able to sort of live that dream is by starting out finding work, and then it's a long journey from there. I can tell you, I've certainly not still got it secured anytime soon. So reason number 2, better job selection. So another reason to apply right now is that you would get a far better choice of actually the jobs that are out there. So ski resorts usually start posting their various job positions around the middle to late August. So I can tell you right now that come Tuesday, the 15th of August, Revelstoke Mountain Resort, it's on their website right now. They're going to post a bunch of their winter jobs up online. And I think that might be across a lot of their businesses. If you go onto their vacancies page right now, they actually do have a little line that says, check back on August the 15th. So whilst it might still feel like I guess sort of the peak part of summer right now, it's definitely something to think about. So whether you're looking for a position as a ski instructor, a lift operator, or even as a resort manager, it's just going to give you the best chance of finding that perfect job by doing it as early as possible. Number 3 is your preparation time. So if you're applying in August, that's going to give you and your employer plenty of time to prepare for that job. And this, especially for you guys who are working right now, it's important because you need to sort out accommodation. You need to sort out your transportation, some other logistics. Have you got to get work permits sorted, visas? Do you need to sort out any particular equipment, any sort of personal belongings prior to your season? And some of these things you do really need to have that time space to be able to do, especially accommodation and work permits. I've talked quite a lot already about how hard it is to find a ski season accommodation, especially where I am right here. I do want to do a whole other live stream on accommodation, but it comes back to that thing of giving yourself the best chance. The later you leave it, the less quality accommodation is going to be there, and also the prices are going to be a lot higher. You want to be able to transition into that job as smoothly as possible, so just giving yourself that time. The next thing would be networking opportunities. So if you're applying for a ski season jobs in August, it does give you that chance to create a lot of contacts in advance. So a lot of ski resorts start doing job fairs around this time, and then hosting other events. So for any of our UK team, we know, that the ski shows that they start to put on around about late September, early October. It's kind of like an opening for the British ski community to look forward to their ski holidays. And you can go to desks like Crystal and Ingham's, and they, that they would be able to give you some information on any potential jobs if you're still looking that late on. But I wouldn't leave it till October normally. And yeah, just making those connections gives you that chance to be one step ahead, meeting maybe some managers, some people to learn a little bit more about not just your job, but what are the other opportunities. My advice would be, having done 2 years with Crystal, I wish that early on I'd gone to those guys and had a clearer understanding of what, if any, career progression opportunities there were. If you're wanting to live in the Alps full time, anyone will tell you it's pretty hard to do. But if you can find a big company that allows you to get to a position where you can afford to live there within a 4 or 5 year period, by all means do it. I didn't have that conversation with Crystal, but also at the same time, there was a lot of changes with the way that resorts and jobs were being run, and I actually didn't feel like there was much progression chance for me. I think I'd ran my course with my time during a holiday rep, and it wasn't for me. So there you have it. Those are just some of the reasons there of why applying for a ski season job in August is a crucial thing to do. Giving yourself a wider job selection, getting yourself the best permissions, giving you time to prepare, and opening up any network opportunities. if you have any questions or any tips of your own, definitely put them in the comments. Let's get to a couple of the questions. Joe has been pretty active already here. And let's see here. Hey Matt, how are you? Joe, I'm doing all right, mate. Summer definitely has a weird feel to it when you're when you primarily start working ski season life, um, wanting to do winters, adapting to summer work and summer life is pretty um it's a whole other transition. So it's the same job, like I said. I mean, it's full all year round, but the customers and the engagement is very, very different, right? Especially here in Canada, like the summer crowd is on road trips a lot of the time. They're not coming for 5, 6, 7, 10-day holidays, like with skiing. And when the ski crowd comes in, they want to really immerse themselves in the town, in the mountain atmosphere, right? Which is easier to do when there's snow on the ground and there's skiing and there's lights everywhere. But most of the people are throwing their camper vans out here, and they're coming from one or two of the big cities like Vancouver, and a lot of the time it's unplanned, and they just kind of want to get off the highway and they want to do something for an hour or two, then get back on the highway. And I struggle sometimes with that. I struggle sometimes with engaging with those type of customers, because you want to share all your knowledge from being in that resort about what makes it such a great place. But yeah, you sort of in the summer, it's simple things of just kind of knowing what costs are, and what activities are open, how long is that going to take, that type of thing, and can get a little bit repetitive sometimes. But the beauty of the summer is that there's a lot more things you can do outdoors. So yeah, I have been sort of pretty active there, but I don't know, I'm kind of ready for maybe a little bit of a autumn already, or maybe already about winter. I think all this stuff with the jobs as well it's kind of nice. We've got some sales on already for winter tickets, so everybody's thinking about it. Okay. Yeah, so Joe, your dream is to live in the Alps, man. Well, if that is what you have, I found early on a lot of people questioned me with that. They were like, okay, when are you going to get a proper job? And I don't think anybody really saw or understood that path. But don't let any of that ever knock you or cause you to doubt what your dream is, man. If that is your dream, stick with it, and just enjoy the journey. It'll throw some incredible curveballs at you, but yeah, stick to it. Is it sensible to apply for a ski job a year in advance? I'll be honest with you, I don't know of many people who have secured a job by applying a year in advance. The reason for that is that typically, I mean, if we're talking about ski resorts, and I guess by extension that also means ski companies, maybe that's travel or snow schools, they're not going to be, like, for example, they're not going to be recruiting for instructors for 2 winters time. Do you get me? So when these jobs come out next week, they're going to be for this winter. If you're a returning worker, then you might have some verbal agreements, but I think it maybe links back into that network opportunity of it's certainly a good idea to maybe reach out to companies well in a year in advance. Like, maybe even if you're not planning to work until a year's out at the time, starting that conversation now, building a contact, building a rapport, it can't hurt. But I don't know if you're going to be able to secure a job then, because I'm going to complete my apprenticeship next July and hope to get ski jobs 2024 December. Right, I see what you're saying. Okay, so I guess my advice here, Joe, so I know you've talked about wanting to go into Samoyen. What you can be doing right now is researching all the ski instructor companies, because I think that's what you said you wanted to do for now. So all the private companies, all the resort related snow companies, and find out the direct contacts for the directors or the managers of those snow schools. and just introduce yourself. Just start that conversation, and just say, introduce yourself, tell you about yourself, explain what it is that you're doing and what your goal is to get to there in 2024 December. Because from an employer's perspective, they can't offer you anything like a year in advance, but you're making yourself stand out from the rest of the crowd by taking that initiative so far in advance. That shows just how much actually you want to be out there and how much you want to work, because a lot of people just want to collect a paycheck and go to the bar every night in a ski town. Like, I hate to say that, because we've all done that, but you know, when you've worked around varying different people within the ski industry, you know that you're going to get those people that aren't really too fussed about the job. They see it just as a paycheck rather than a means to, I guess, be there, or a career opportunity. So yeah, I think you can definitely reach out to these people and just kind of, get to know a little bit about them as well, and what their companies are like. And then when it comes time to applying to those jobs the following autumn, that you can do that. David, thanks for joining, mate. Do you see yourself staying in Revelstoke versus trying somewhere else in Canada? This does come back to my permanent residency situation, but the short answer is yes. I'm building a life here in Revelstoke and trying, very hard to do that. And when I say building a life, I'm just trying to do things as a part of to be a part of the community, which can be hard to do in ski towns, right? Because you always get this massive influx and then outgoing bunch of people who live and work there, and then you're kind of wondering, well, who actually does live here all around? But Revelstoke is this beautiful place actually where you do have a community of people who live here all around, and they're from all over the world. And I've not experienced it actually anywhere else in my time working elsewhere. So I do want to stay here, but it depends on a couple of things. First of all, there's the permanent residency situation. So I'm coming to the end of my 2-year work permit right now, and let's say I get that. The next question I think would be about my career opportunities and progression past that, because one day I want to be able to afford to buy a place in a ski town so that I can live here, maybe start a family, and ever since I've started this for the 5-6 years so far, you're renting out a basement. So yeah, I kind of want to get to a point after establishing the residency that I can then map out a career path with an employer that would get me into a position where I can afford to be secure and be, safe in a town. I've thought about this a lot, so it's yeah, and who knows, this channel might be able to contribute to that somehow. I really enjoy this audience, and I've given a lot of time to this in my spare time. And I want to hopefully somehow use that as part of my goal, but we shall see. Somewhere else in Canada, I mean, it really depends, doesn't it? Like Revelstoke is a pretty expensive place to live, as are most ski towns. I would have to, I'm not saying no to another place, but I'm feeling pretty happy where I am right now. Thanks, Matt. I'm doing 3 ski seasons before doing a snowboard instructor course, and then hope to become a qualified Bramski Level 2 instructor. There we go. So yeah, I know we talked about this a little bit before. So I mean, I think for your situation, Joe, you've already got quite a bit of positive weight behind you there when it comes to creating some contacts within the resort. And I know obviously through your sort of the family and the links to Sam Wayan as well, that you've got some opportunities there which you can start doing now, and just I think you'll be remembered a lot more by the employers by that, because I'll be like, oh, I remember this kid. We talked about a year ago, seemed really good. We had a bit of a phone call or whatever. Yeah, just think about it from that point of view. What country do you think has the best ski jobs? Oof. I guess I don't, that's an interesting question, because I've noticed that there's definitely differences between the ski job market in Europe compared to in Japan, compared to here in Canada. And I think that it all differs depending on the market, so that the customers that are coming to that area. I mean, let's take the Brits, for example. And the reason why companies like Crystal and Ingham's Ski World have done so well for so long was because they were right at the heart of what we referred to as the all-inclusive package, right? And this was sort of before the internet, before Skyscanner, before Airbnb, where the British market literally just wanted to pay one thing, have everything in there. So have the transport, have the tickets, have the accommodation, the food, have it all in there as one, and then also have an on-site person who speaks English for them to help. Now, with the avenue, so then you needed your holiday reps, you needed your chalet hosts for the people who didn't want to rent a hotel and a safe catering apartment. They wanted to be in a nice ski chalet, to get the real full, sort of traditional ski experience, have someone cook them food, have wine at the end of the evening, maybe go out once or twice a week, right? So then the internet came along, and bit by bit, people were looking for the best deals everywhere, and people realized, oh, well, actually, I can get my flights cheaper by going there, or I can get this part. So they start picking bits and bits and bits. And as that happens, the need for reps and the need for chalet hosts has become a lot less. Now, other things to factor in with the Europe market and the European ski jobs, Brexit, obviously, and COVID. So I think COVID, for the most part, has basically put an end to the catered ski chalet market, and it's all self-catered now. Although you do have these special it has given birth to things like concierge companies and catering companies, people that can come in for a night and do it once you pay. But you've still got those type of jobs, and obviously you've still got the ski instructors, but now that's quite hard for many Brits. It was hard anyway, especially in France, like the ESF never really liked them there. But somewhere in Austria, they actually depended quite a lot on the British ski market. Now, fast forward. Now, let's go over to Japan, for example. And so in Japan, there were quite a few companies like me, like the property management companies. So similar to sort of high-end chalet management, but just not in-house. It's more like, okay, they maintain the properties, make sure that there's drivers or there's cleaners that come in and out, but are not hands-on with the customers. And so they needed people to be behind a desk, answering phones, sending emails, confirming travel itineraries for people, ensuring that everybody had what they needed in-house at the resort at the end of the phone. But when we get to Japan and Canada, that's when you start having things like your lifties, so your lift operators, your ski techs. You did get those in Europe again, but it's just each place is a little bit different, I think, because Japan was a lot more like Australia, especially in Niseko. You had a lot more of the Aussie crowd there, a lot more. There was quite a bit of wealth around in Niseko, hence why you had these luxury properties and hotels. I'm rambling on a little bit here, but I think in answer to your question, Joe, countries have different ski jobs in relation to what the market dictates. Hope that answers that. Okay, David, thanks for answering. Do you mind sharing any recommendations for travel insurance for the IEC? Okay, so with this, David, there's actually not too many options. I think at the time when I did it, there was, I think there's only one or two companies that actually do IEC travel insurance. So the one that I had was, let's have a look. I think it was called Tiger something. Big Cat Travel Insurance. That was the one that I went through. I've never had to use insurance, so it's like I can't really comment on what is any the best. But what I would say, so there's a really good website called Moving to Canada, and they give all the information about pretty much anything you need to do if you want to get PR, work holiday, and within that they have a subsection that talks through some recommended insurers. Not everyone does these work holiday insurances. And yeah, I guess you've got to think really about what it is you're looking for. I've never had to make a claim, so I have to be honest. I've kind of been quite naive to the insurance side of things. I've always made sure that I've got it. I think it's important, and also sometimes they won't actually allow you into the country unless you've got it. So just you definitely want to get it. Big Cat was the one that I used, but have a bit of a look. Yeah, thank you. No problem, Joe. Yeah, some good questions there. Liv, thanks for your question. I think you might be possibly new, first time on the channel, potentially. I'm a complete novice. Where do I start in looking for ski season jobs? And do you think I have a chance of getting a placement, for example, as a chalet host? Okay, so let's take the chalet host role. So, because I've talked a little bit about that, Liv. There's two different types of companies that are going to be advertising chalet host roles. The one type is your tour operator, and so that's the big companies like your Crystal Ski, like your Inghams. They don't have a lot of chalet hosts now because they don't run a lot of chalets, and what you actually are probably better to look for is these companies that specialize in chalet chalet management, chalet companies. So what I mean by that is that each resort now tends to have one or two companies that manage a number of chalets, and they will have those jobs available. So let's take, for example, I can't screen share here, but let's take, do you know what? Let's take Joe's resort, for example. So Joe, I think, is heading out to Samoyen. So I'm just going to Google right now. I'm going to Google chalet companies Samoyen, okay, in France. Now, straight away, there's 3 or 4 companies that are appearing here. First one is like Alps Accommodation. What have we got here? PB and Co. There's a couple of individual lodges that will have their own websites as well. What have we got here? Ski, Gee Ski, and that says catered chalet holidays. So catered chalets, those are the ones where you want to be looking for work. So catered means it's in-house. It means that they're going to have a team that are going to be looking after the guests. If you see a website that does self-catered chalets, those are not going to have chalet host jobs. So you're looking for catered chalet companies. Where do you start looking? That is the main place you do. You go direct to these company websites. A lot of these, from my experience, a lot of the catered chalet companies do not actually advertise anywhere. You have to take the initiative and contact them directly. So, they'll have their contact information somewhere down at the bottom or the top of their website, and you've got to reach out. You've effectively got to write an email that works as a cover letter. If you can send it as a direct email from your inbox with a CV attached, that's better. Sometimes they've got these forms, the contact forms on a website, but I've not always found that's a kind of like a good way to reach out, and they don't always reach out, come through, right? So, yeah, from there, where you're introducing yourself, explaining a bit about, what are your strengths, why you're wanting to do the job, also why you, if you can express some knowledge about their company or about the resort or the type of client that comes in. So with catered chalets, more often than not, it could be quite how do we describe here, like a high value client, a high net worth client. Not always, but and so that demand for customer service is pretty high. Do you think you have a chance of getting a placement? Well, certainly. I mean, I don't see why not, Liv. So, Liv, I mean, what research have you done so far? I'm not sure if you're still on, but yeah, what have you thought? Do you know about maybe where you want to go work? What resort? What country? Is the chalet host thing that you want to do? Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that in the comments, and I'll see what else I can do to help on that. If anybody's just joining, guys, so we have just been talking a bit about how now is the time to be applying for ski jobs to secure your work. A lot of companies are going live now with ski jobs. If anybody's got any questions, anybody's thinking about doing a ski season or anything like that, just put them in the comments. And yeah, let's just keep having a bit of a chill here. Let's have a nice hangout on a Sunday. So David, just coming back to your questions, I don't know if you're still on here. Are you what's your situation now then? So are you just figuring out some travel plans for coming out here, getting your insurance sorted? I guess one thing to note as well, guys, like if you are thinking about applying for this winter work, is be prepared for some rejection. The best way I think to secure your work is to apply for as many jobs as possible. I probably, for each of the winters starting out, was applying. I'd go through these periods of applying for like 50, 20, 30 companies, and you might get like 6 or 7 responses, but it gives yourself the best chance, best opportunity. I'm doing an off-piste ski instructor course in Whistler in January, and then I've done a ski season in the past, so this is more like a career break thing. Sounds like a pretty sweet way to do a career break, mate. And yeah, doing that course in Whistler. So when you say like off-piste, are we talking? Is this guiding? Like, is this, because I know out here like the ACMG thing is quite. I plan to try and find a job in Vancouver after in my field. Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, you've got 3 or 4 resorts within that area. I mean, Whistler's obviously the main one. A couple of those little hills like Grouse, Cypress Hill. There's another one which is going to really annoy me. yeah, Whistler is the biggest one. I'd be interested to go to Whistler, just to actually experience it for a day or two, but I kind of think my wallet would take such a huge hit from it, and I've heard so many stories about it. I don't like to have like preconceptions, especially about ski resorts, because each one is different in so many ways, and everybody likes one for what whatever reason. But from the outside, there's a lot of things I hear with it being owned and run by Vale, and it just, yeah, it's not somewhere that makes me go like, oh, I really want to go and try there. um Plus it's a long way away, but it's a course to actually improve my ski technique, and then the ski instructor qualification is just a part of it. Nice. Okay. Well, that's useful though, right? Because I think at all ages, it's kind of good to have a bit of a tweak upon your technique, and um, yeah, the fact that they're and what qualification is that going to give you? Is that it's like a certain level? I mean, like, with going back to Joe's situation, we were talking about BASI, which is the British ski instructor courses, and each level allows you to teach ski lessons at a different capacity. So, like, level 1 was indoor and dry slope. Level 2, I think you can do on snow, subject to restrictions in other countries. So, yeah, I don't know what would that allow you to do in Canada. I mean, I guess the good thing about somewhere like Whistler is that there's going to be plenty of need for ski instructors because it's such a huge place, right? And you're right next to a city. So there's going to be a lot of families, wanting kids to be looked after, or, to go and explore some of the backcountry around Blackcomb, which I hear is pretty good. So, Joe, I don't know if you're still on, mate. So level 2, I can't remember if I've asked this. So does level 2, does that give you a particular, does level 2 allow you to ski in France? There's always been that sort of gray area, because I know ESF don't really get on very well with BASI, or at least they haven't in the past. David, it's level 1. So first few weeks, focus on your on-piste technique and get the qualification. And then after that point, it's all focused on off-piste. Okay, well, that's good. Nice. Good to know that, like, you've got, it's going to give you that chance to kind of do a bit and either way. But like, if you're wanting to get a job in that field around Vancouver, David, like with level 1, is that, I would imagine that's going to be like mostly sort of like beginner like skiers, probably, which would probably work in your favor, because I mean, Whistler, you're going to have a lot of a different variety of skiers, but Grouse, Cypress, I know the smaller hills around Vancouver, it's predominantly family and sort of, beginner novice skiers. So prime place to maybe get a job. And I don't know, it looks pretty cool to go, be on those hills, which wanted to go and do grouse at Christmas last year, but the rain came in on the day we were down there, which sucked. But like, the views, being able to ski with the water and the city down there does look pretty cool. We've got a couple of new people joining the chat, I can see, guys. So thanks for joining. We're chatting about ski season jobs and why now's a good time to apply. Kind of just went through a little bit of a couple of the pointers at the start. If you've got any questions or anything at all on that, put them in the comments, and then we're just hanging out at the moment. Okay, we got a question from James. James, I think you might be new here, mate. Got a few of those today, so thanks very much for joining. Just join the stream. Sorry if this is something that's been uncovered, but do you recommend any websites for looking for jobs? I got to be honest with you, James. I've always preferred the direct approach. A lot of these websites that have ski season jobs, it's a platform for a lot of, I guess, how do we say this, like initiatives and like sort of, I guess, sort of partnerships to be done. So I guess what I mean by that is, like, you can go on a website right now and let's say you googled ski instructor jobs in Canada, right? You can find some of these winter job specific sites, and it might say something like, I don't know, you pay X amount, right? We'll get you trained up as an instructor and then we'll get you a job. Like, I've seen that quite a lot, right? My cousin did something like that in Japan, I think. And I've seen, and the thing with that though is that, like, you get into murky water because they supposedly guarantee you X amount of hours of ski instructing, but you can never get that guarantee. So I like to think quite detailed about the jobs I've wanted to do, James. So, James, have you had any thoughts? Are you wanting to do a ski season? Like, what are you thinking about? Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to go and work at a particular place, or like, let's say, for example, where. Okay, let's take Whistler, for example, where David is going to be hanging out. You could Google something like ski jobs Whistler, and you're going to have a pretty good idea already from that on what's available. I do recommend always taking a look at particular Facebook groups. I mean, this is better use for people who are trying to find jobs last minute. But the community groups are great because you have a lot of the key players and just general people who are in the town and might know someone who's got a job going. Things like bar jobs are pretty good for that type of thing if that's what you're wanting to do. But yeah, if you're like wanting to work as, let's say, I don't know, you're wanting to work in a hotel or on the mountain itself, then you go direct. You go direct to the resort website where they've got a pretty big job section. David's come back here. Thanks for that though, James. Yeah, let me know a little bit more about your situation. David, yeah, complete beginners skiers, I imagine, and I work as a software engineer, so I'll likely try and get a job in Vancouver doing this after the season. Awesome. Well, I'm sure there's going to be quite a lot of tech stuff around in Vancouver. I mean, I don't know a lot exactly, but I mean, resort companies are always looking for IT as well, man. Like, it's from my job. I mean, the resorts have massive, and the hotels all reliant a lot on e-commerce, right? So there's that side of the business which requires workers quite a lot. So if you're wanting to, I don't know, you might be wanting to keep that side of things separate from skiing. I've kind of had quite a good thing since moving out here to Canada, is that my work has actually physically been far away from the slopes. So every time I've come on to go skiing, I've not felt like it's my work, and I'm able to just focus on enjoyment of skiing, which I think is really important when you're out here doing this. Like, you got to remember at times why you're here, and or to remember how awesome it is to have a ski slope on as your garden, your play area. James is back. I've really got my mindset on doing this season. Not done one before, but been skiing all my life. Really looking more at hotel jobs, specifically driving, maintenance, or ski host. Awesome. Okay. So, I mean, dude, like you're doing the right thing. Like no one in this chat is going to tell you not to do a ski season. Like this is the place where we're going to say, like, you know, like it's something to do. I mean, I don't know any other lifestyle like it in the world, and anyone will tell you that once it grips you, that's it. It's like you can't really go back to a 9 to 5 really. But it's worth it because it gives you the experience of a lifetime. Okay, so there's a couple of options you've thought about there already. So we've got hotel jobs, maybe doing some driving or maintenance within the hotels, or a ski host. I don't know enough about the ski hosting. I like it's especially in Europe, it's kind of been phased out. A lot of red tape around that rule, especially there was in France, but there are ways around it, kind of. But if you're focused around the hotels, it's kind of straightforward because really all you need to do there is go direct to the hotels. And I guess you got to think about what type of hotel are you looking for. And then what I mean by that is like, how do I put this? I mean, like from my perspective, right? Like I would research probably all the top 10 hotels in the resort, right? And I'd research that, look at the star ratings, for example. So I'd look at all the 4-5-star hotels, right? And the reason you go for those is because they're probably the biggest, so they're going to have more jobs available, going to be better pay, possibly better flexibility they might have a better sort of works benefit program as well for their employers. They may very well have jobs clearly listed on their website as well, and the ability to kind of start networking and make contacts. And yeah, they would need drivers. They would need people to do the electricity, the plumbing, managing the pool, saunas, all those different types of things. And they may very well have some part of that does need, some ski hosting. I hope that answers your question there. I'd be good enough to do a teaching course, but not really sure that's my thing. Yeah, I know how you feel, man. When I did my level 1 early on, that was like my first sort of start at trying to figure out how to get and work and live in the mountains. And I never went through with it, but on reflection, I'm kind of glad I did, because I don't think I'd have the patience to teach kids. Like I would just want to get up and be with an adult group and take them down, big, long, cruisy piste runs, or taking them off piste in the powder, Just on what you mentioned to James, doing a ski season was the best decision of my life. Okay, well, there you go, James. David has showed that there. Thanks, man. Thanks, David. Everyone says that there must be something in it. Yeah. And James, where are you from, mate? Are you from the UK, or are you Canada? Are you Aussie? Like, what's your background, mate? I'm from the UK, but do have an EU passport as well. Nice. Okay, well that is very fortunate, because then you can go out and work. Then you don't really have any issues about going and working in Europe. So yeah. Now, James, have you got any thoughts on where? Like, do you know the country? Do you know the resort? Have you thought about any of that? Like, I know not everybody thinks about this when they're applying for ski jobs, but I meticulously thought about every single place I went to work, because from my perspective, I had that goal pretty early on that, okay, I wanted to do this life full time, and I had to figure out what was going to give me the best way. And so I wanted to work for the best companies, the biggest companies, the ones that paid well, you know. So I'm in the process of contacting hotels directly, which sounds like the way to go from what you were saying. Definitely with hotels. You know, it's the thing I found with hotels, certainly out here in Canada, is that they're going to have their own HR teams. They're going to have the managers are going to be directly looking at it, and hotel, like, work teams within hotels are actually not that big. You know, guest services might be 4 or 5 teams. Driving and maintenance might be 3 or 4 teams. So the manager is going to be right at the heart of that employment process, and is going to want to pick the best candidates. So if you're able to contact them directly and make yourself stand out above the rest by showing a bit of initiative, you know, I always used to try and dig deep to find the direct contacts of people to get that sort of personal relationship going. Yeah. I'd love to do Austria, go there most years. Whereabouts in Austria do you go, James? I thought Austria was like the best place in Europe. I really do. I've not done a lot of Italy, but you know, out of France and Switzerland and Austria, and yeah, it was just, I mean, the all-round quality of the ski experience, I think, was streaks above there. Now with the hotels there, that might be a bit tricky, just because the culture within Austria is that a lot of these hotels are passed down through families, generational families, right? And so they're going to want German, Austro-speaking staff. Not all of the time. Like, you know, a lot of these hotels are also going to have, I mean, especially in the smaller towns, if that person owns a hotel, the chances are they own a bar, or they own like a ski rental shop as well. And so then they need maybe a British speaking ski tech or someone to drive the bus around the hotel shuttle in the evening, that type of thing. So it might be a bit tricky, but definitely keep at it. You know, all the famous Austrian resorts sound appealing. Lots of things to do, people to meet, especially in St. Anton and Saalbach. Yeah. And St. Anton's probably a good one to look at because it's quite a popular place with the Brits. So Saalbach, I have done Saalbach a very long time ago. I've traveled there. I've not done St. Anton. I just know that, you know, quite a lot of the Brits from the Innsbruck side like to go there. It varies where we go, in fairness. I've been to Saalbach, but also less British resorts in Flacco and Bad Gastein. Those last two, mate, it's a beautiful area. The Ski Armade is great. Ski Veld, I'd recommend that one, mate. So that was where I was. Sol, you know, good mixture of English speaking, but also a lot of the Dutch and you know, the Austrians come through. I think Austria has definitely gone under a bit of a transition in the last couple of years. Maybe less of some of these British party towns still around. Like Niederau is a pretty nice resort to go to. If you want a good hotel to actually apply for in Niederau, bear with me 1 second here. I might have a contact for you there, James. This is going to annoy me. Hotel Staffler, Stffler, Hotel Staffler. Do me a favor, actually, James. I'm gonna pop my email address in the quote. Shoot me an email, because I might have a contact there if you wanted to maybe take a look. Just like, you know, it's entirely up to you. And then I might be able to put you in touch with someone from the Staffler. It's far less English focused on jobs than, say, France from first impression. I'm hoping if I contact enough hotels, I can find something. Yeah. So drop me a message, because actually this hotel is drop me an email here, mate, because this hotel is it's kind of run, I think, by an English and Austrian or German couple, and they have a quite good balance in there. They seem like a good thing. David's got to go. Thanks, David. Have a good one there, mate. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate you taking part. That's great. I'll email you later. Yeah, no problem, James. So that's what I'm here for. Just, yeah, like I say, the longer you do it, you build up a few contacts, right? And I actually did a recorded interview with, I think it's Nick, who runs the Staffler. It's on, if you go searching for it on my channel, and he talks a little bit. And I think this was with the hotel around the time of COVID and what that was all like. But yeah, yeah, I think I can put you in touch with someone there. Anytime, buddy. That's what I'm here for. So I guess we're going to give it a couple of minutes here. Like the man, do you know what? The engagement's been popping off today. Which countries have you worked in then? Okay, so I was a rep for Crystal Ski for 2 years, and when I say Crystal, you also want to include TUI in that. So TUI own Crystal. I was a rep first of all in Les Menuires and Val Thorens, part of the Three Valleys in France. That was my first year. It was basically like a whole season of being in freshers at university. That was just out partying 3-4 nights a week, skiing, and it was intense, man. Like really, really intense work. So, work hard, ski hard type thing. And then I went to Austria for my second season. So I worked in Sol, SOLL, which is like it's part of this awesome ski area, about 300 kilometers of skiing. It's like 8 towns all connected. This awesome, really cool vibe. And they're just like, I'd never experienced anything at that time there. Like there was this really cool, small but tight-knit community of ski workers. A lot of them were like return people to Sol. Sorry. And they'd come every single year. And I love that place. And it was round the corner from Kitzbühel. So everything in Austria, like with the ski areas, is within like such a close distance, and the transport networks are awesome. So, it was like an hour drive to Salzburg to do our airport shifts, right? Anyway, I did a little bit of summer work for TUI as a rep again in Turkey for like a couple of weeks. Decided it wasn't for me. And then I started doing the summer in Austria with a partner in Meyerhofen. Anyway, shit went wrong there. Excuse my language, but that went bad about a month or two in. And so I packed it in, and I'd sort of felt my time with Crystal had run its course. And I decided I wanted a new experience. I wanted to try more being around that high end market part of the skiing. I've always had like a bit of an interest and a fascination with the way that the wealthy live, and how that side of the industry works with skiing, right? And so I thought about chalets. That was my thing. Europe didn't really interest me at that point, and I wanted to go where there was a lot of snow. So I looked at Japan, and I found it was a property management company, so not quite like catered chalets. They had a portfolio of 40 properties. There was a company called the Niseko Company, so pretty straightforward. And yeah, they had a team of drivers, team of cleaners, and one or two of us as concierge. And the concierge were just like, like your hotel front desk, right? We had a little office in town. The guests, sometimes they'd arrive into town, they'd come and check in first here. Sometimes we'd check them in directly at the property. But that was a little bit different. It was different from sort of being on your feet and then being behind a desk. But that transition started getting me to start thinking more about how are the ways that you can actually do this full time. Like, how can you find a job that allows you to work all year round? Because there aren't many in a mountain town. But I was out in Japan when COVID hit, and I think the first cases of COVID outside of China were actually in Japan. So we were pretty close to it. It was on the news pretty much all the day, and no one really knew what was going on, right? And work guests started to dry up around about late Feb, March. And so I took the decision to come home, which I regret, because I think Japan was one of the few ski areas that stayed open, but it was just about how do you afford to stay there, yeah. And so then that was me stuck at home for probably about 18 months, going crazy, doing jobs and life I didn't really want to do. And then I found out about the work holiday visa to come and work in Canada. And I was like, right, okay. And I knew straight away I wanted to come to Revelstoke, just because of the powder. I'd heard so many things about it. And again, I still wanted to sort of stick in that high end. And so I thought actually it'd be cool to actually try working for one single property this time, and work on it that way. And so, yeah, I worked in a private heli ski lodge, which my role was kind of like mixed. It was like half chalet host, half maintenance, it was a combination of different things. And that really taught me a lot. Really, really taught me a lot about working in the high end side of things with the clientele, how they operate, the demands, the skills you have to develop, the personality. And then when I decided, okay, well, I want to live here full time, I was like, I'm going to need to figure out about permanent residency and getting a full-time job. And so when that season finished, that was 2 winters ago. Shortly after that, in April 2022, I joined working directly for the resort. So I work in the sales team for the resort as a supervisor. And that's where I am now, mate. That's me. So 2 years in Europe, a year in Japan, 2 years in Canada. I've been in Revelstoke, but only in summer, unfortunately. Looks great. It's so different, compared to each place, each season. And the shoulder seasons are great too, because you have this changing of all the colors and all the just the general feel of the vibe, and people come and go. I mean, it's only the middle of August, but summer feels like it's been going on for ages. And I think that's just because it's been so hot here. We've not had much respite. The fires were pretty bad last week. The smoke was crazy. And so, yeah, I'm kind of ready for a bit of autumn, which is weird. I'm ready for some snow, actually, more than anything, man. Ed, thanks for commenting, mate. I just did a crystal ski season, loved it so much. Doing another one, just thinking of what to do in the summer this year. Nice. So Ed, tell me, where did you do your season for Crystal? I'm glad to hear you had a good time, man. They are a good company. I mean, they give you so many different choices and options, and they do look after you. I did really enjoy my time there. That's just a shame it didn't sort of pan out the way I thought it was going to. And then summer's a tricky one, because it's like, especially when you're starting out, you're effectively looking for another seasonal job, right? And I know a lot of people would, especially in Europe, a lot of people would then go off and work in bars or hotels in south of Spain, France, like Magaluf, all that type of thing. And then they'd come back and they'd do a winter. Or maybe they'd go work, I don't know, on a lake, with water sports. Yeah, fires when I was there too. It was really bad last week, man. I was playing a match. I was playing a cricket match down in Salmon Arm on Sunday, and you couldn't see anything. It was so bad. 30+ degrees heat. We've had a bit of rain recently, which has been good, but It was a pretty big fire. If you go onto my community posts, you'll see some photos that I taken, and there was a fire burning real close to Revi. It was quite scary. I was like saying to my folks, and they're like, "What's your evacuation plans?" But I don't think it was going to get that bad. Obergurgel. Ah, good old Obergurgel. It was the one place I really wanted to try and get to actually when I worked for Crystal in Seoul. But it's pretty more closer towards Innsbruck. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about that, Ed. I mean, Obergurgel sounded like a pretty cool place. I mean, the Austrian Après is just the best. Like James, like you as know, I know you're thinking about Austria and you've been there quite a few times. It's just there's nothing like it, and I feel like it's such a good better vibe than just do you know what I mean? It's like would you rather be in that with like this like the Après scene where the beer's a bit cheaper, it's just having a good laugh in all your ski gear, right? Or do you want to be paying $8 for a bottle of Heineken at the Folie Douce, in Teen or wherever, and all of that? Like it's fun to do once in a while, but in Austria that Après scene is great. You've got like the all the little games as well, like the games of nails on the sort of the log. You've got the little frozen bottles of Jägermeister that everybody does. There's all the games. There's the live music in each of the bars. I don't know. It was a nice sort of a bit slightly relaxed vibe, but better quality. Yeah, unbeatable, man. Yeah, the Austrians, I never sort of had a bad interaction with Austria, and yeah, I'd love to go back because I've still got quite a few friends out there, and yeah. Yeah, I loved it, but it was so small, and I got bored of skiing there pretty quickly. But we had Solden as well, hoping to do somewhere like St. Anton this year. How like Ed? I mean, you might be able to tell me now because I've not. I'll be honest, like I'm totally out of the know with Crystal. I don't know what's going on with them now as a company, what it's like to work for. But I mean, when we were there, they were cutting back the in-resort teams pretty sharply across all the countries. So yeah, I don't know how that is now, because like if you're able to get, I mean, I imagine it's only 2 or 3 people in a resort, but St. Anton would definitely be cool. Solden as well. I mean, again, you're close to so many other resorts in Austria, and if you buy the sort of one of the super ski passes, you can go around. The snow is by far the best compared to the other resorts. Yeah. And the crazy thing about Austria is that like a lot of those resorts are not very high at all. Like some of them are like only a couple of 100 meters, but they do have some pretty good quality snow. Like when the snow does come, it's awesome. I loved it as a country. I miss the beer. I miss the food. Tiroler Grosso was my favorite on mountain food. Probably had a bit too much of that by the end of the season. But then like hiking in Austria as well, right? In the summer there, it's just, hiking was awesome. There were 10 of us in Obergurgel, and the Solden rep lived with us as well. Oh, okay. Maybe this is kind of like a bit of a post COVID recovery thing, but that's a good solid number team, right? Staff accommodation in Austria was pretty good as well, like better than anything compared to France. So they looked after you. We never really got many from when I worked in Seoul. Most of our airport arrivals was out of Salzburg, so we never had to deal too much with Innsbruck unless it got diverted. But I don't know what was that like for you? Did you have to do the airport days? Did you guys still go down on like Saturdays, or are you just based up in the resort? You had an ensuite? Look at you. What? I didn't even have an ensuite. I had to share mine with a guy called Joe Quinn. I had to share with Joe, which was fine. Like we got on well, man. We had a nice space, but ensuite, bit of an upgrade there. No, we had a cool staff accommodation. It was actually just above our office in the center of town, so didn't have to. Like I remember first year, like you had to like when we were in France, you had to like lug all the way up to the top of the town in the Three Valleys to get to it, and yeah, it was crazy. This is awesome. I'm actually really enjoying today's live stream. What have we got here? Heading off, but we'll send you an email later. Yeah, James, not a problem, mate. I'll put you in touch with that guy from the hotel. And yeah, hopefully that might do there and answer any questions you've got for you. Who's next? Who's got the next question? Keep it rolling, guys. There's not many seasonal workers in Obergurgl. It was just us and the ski instructors and a few Inghams. Bear with me, guys. Come on. What are we talking about? So you did the airport. Not many seasonal workers in Obergurgl. It was just us and the ski instructors and a few from Ingham's. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I gather that now, right, there's probably a lot less British holiday makers to an extent, or maybe more, maybe more of the Belgians and other people coming into Europe. But it's good to hear that there's still like Ingham's and Crystal are still going strong in Austria, because I do think it's the best, you know, by far. Sorry, that's the dog that lives in the house that I'm renting, in the room that I'm renting rather, which is kind of nice. Never had a dog before in the house, but one of the home comforts from home is we had dogs at home, so it's kind of nice to have one of those. Might stay and do lakes and mountains with TUI, but I'm not sure. Would love to live in Innsbruck. I kind of feel like Crystal or TUI used to do something out of Innsbruck, because like Innsbruck obviously is a pretty awesome destination, right? And there's the skiing hills in and around around there. Yeah, no British reps. Wait, when you say no British reps, so is it other than you guys? Out of curiosity, Ed, so when I was finishing up at Crystal, TUI were just starting their own ski program. It was called, like, I don't know what they called it. It was like TUI Blue or TUI Ski, and basically it was like for the sort of the Benny customers, so the Belgian, the Dutch, they were bringing on some other reps, and they had slightly different uniform, and so they were going to be specific to those type of customers, because I think they wanted to push that market as well. I mean, is that what we're saying here, though, that they, you know, some of the reps weren't just the English reps, you had like a mixture? I don't know. That's what I'm just kind of figuring out. All right, guys, I think if there's no more questions or whatever, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I mean, I don't know where that's flown by. That's like an hour and 15 in nowhere. Like the question and the engagement there has been awesome. So thank you guys thank you everyone who's kind of been on there. If anyone's got any more questions, before we go. It was just the EU passport. The only English people that were the reps had been working in Austria before Brexit. Yeah, that's right. Because it was like, I mean, yeah, if you, I think, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was like if you were in there before the closing, then you could stay, or if you had proof of work. Because I know a lot of guys that had to hang around during that time, especially as it was like during COVID as well, just to like add to all the chaos of it all. And yeah, that was, I remember trying to figure out when I came back from Niseko if I could somehow quickly squeeze out to Austria, and yeah, never played out, unfortunately. All right. Anyway, Ed, listen, man, thanks so much for your comments here. Thanks for joining. Hopefully get to see you and some other guys in the chat for next Sunday. This is going on every week, so we have a little bit of a topic, then we have a bit of a hangout with Q&A and discussion. And yeah, as we get closer to winter, we just build up that excitement for the ski season. So yeah, hope to chat with you next week, buddy. Thanks everyone for watching. If you are new to the channel, it would mean the world if you guys could subscribe and like this video. And yeah, be sure to check out some of the other videos that are while you're here. Have a good rest of your weekend, guys, and I'll see you next time.